Good day and a warm welcome to this video lecture on strategies for flexible learning. In the initial sessions of this MOOCs course on flexible learning, you must have been made familiar with the what and why of flexible learning. The lecture today will focus on the how of flexible learning. I'll take you through the different strategies which are used in flexible learning and which have become rather useful in these times of educational disruption. However, it must be acknowledged that flexible learning has been around much before this COVID-19 pandemic. Uh, For instance, the UNESCO implemented flexible learning for children and adolescents who are not in the schools at both the primary and secondary levels. Then also for an earlier large-scale outbreaks like SARS, H1N1, etc. Emergency situations caused by conflict, natural disasters, statelessness, and migration, flexible learning has been used. Depending on the composition and character, this form of learning and teaching has been labeled variously as online learning, e learning, distributed learning, distance learning, remote learning, virtual learning, mobile learning, etc., which you may all be very familiar with. Now, to give you an overview, first of all, I'll do a brief introduction, then we'll look at the broad flexible learning strategies, which are blended learning, flipped classrooms, student generated content, MOOCs, experiential learning. Then, after that, I'll show you examples, share with you examples of how flexible learning strategies can be applied. Then, we'll look at the challenges and issues related to this type of learning strategies, and then the advantages and benefits. Okay, introduction. You're all familiar that flexible learning is a pedagogical approach allowing for flexibility of time, place, and audience, giving students the freedom in how, what, when, and where they learn using a range of technologies. UNESCO's definition has further flexibility in terms of age, pace, curriculum, geographical locations, and languages as they reach to out of school children. In this lecture, we shall focus on flexible learning in the context of the educational disruption due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Okay, flexible learning strategies. As teachers, we all know that learning is a complex process, and in the context of flexible learning, with the separation of the learners in time and space, these variables take on a new meaning and a new level of importance. So, when governments all over the world have closed educational institutions to contain the global pandemic, initiatives have been taken to minimize the disruption and facilitate the continuity of learning by offering options to ensure that hundreds of millions of students do not miss out on their education but learn safely from their homes. Therefore, flexible learning has become rather important during this pandemic for this specific purpose, with strategies being adapted and modified to meet the learning needs, not to forget the factors that impact them, such as accessibility to internet, possession of computers, laptops, smartphones, etc. Uh, Before I get into the strategies, I want to talk about the role of technology. There are some definitions which say that in flexible learning, technology does not play a big role. But in this, when we're talking about the educational disruption due to the COVID-19 outbreak, technology plays a big role as students cannot go to the school or campuses to study face to face in a regular way. Use of different types of tools and platforms, therefore, need to be used in an integrated way to support remote learning and teaching. And there is a variety of Web 4.0 tools which can be used to help learners generate content and interact with the peers, such as blogs, wikis, and social networks. Additionally, several technology based communication mediums, such as emails and instant messages, applications, etc., make flexible learning take place much more efficiently. The broad flexible learning strategies that we have: blended learning, flipped classroom, student generated content, massive open online courses, and experiential learning. So, first, let's look at blended learning. Since the face to face component of blended learning cannot be carried out, teachers will have to make adjustments and adapt to the existing educational disruption requirement by using the digital technology available to them to balance the face to face and interactive digital opportunities for learning. For instance, face to face sessions can be conducted virtually through video conferences, live streaming lectures, and online tutoring. You can use learning management systems, virtual learning environment, and also use Zoom for interaction among students and teachers. Short screen recordings can also be used to teach specific skills and processes required by the content or the topic, etc. Just like in the regular class, but this is done online. This can then be followed by the use of artificial intelligence driven mobile application to access the learning resources and study on their own paces during the other days, thus creating a blended learning experience for the students. Flip classrooms. This inverts the traditional lecture based classroom. In this adapted version, students watch short online videos or pre read before class as self learning, and virtual class time is spent applying concepts of knowledge through in class activities. This will help the students develop the higher levels of thinking during the virtual interaction for discussions, questions with peers and teachers, and activities. The lower levels of cognitive work, such as gaining knowledge and comprehension, can be done on their own before the online class and also when they're doing the activities. Student generated content. This is distinct from the teacher supplied content such as course notebooks and textbooks. Course content produced by the students by engaging in higher order thinking is it's a very good activity to engage the students in. Examples include video, exam questions, quizzes, Wikipedia entries, blog posts, etc. Activities like these actually promote students' writing skills, so they should be used for a dual purpose. As I mentioned before, a variety of Web 4.0 tools can be used to help learners to generate content and interact with their peers, such as blogs, wikis, and social networks. Flexibility can be enabled by offering learners several ways of studying, maybe individually, in groups, collaboratively, and this can be done all online. The content is shared with peers and teachers for feedback and assessment. The main benefit from this strategy is that it is student driven, encouraging learners to be independent, and higher cognitive skills are developed where the students actually create their own content for a topic, activity, or project. The next one, massive open online courses. Massive open online courses, they are offered, as you are familiar, at low cost or no cost, like Coursera, Udemy, edX, etc. And these are done to supplement student learning. Teachers can assign MOOC lecturers to students to watch and annotate with questions, observations, comments, so etc., so that the learning can be enriched through online discussions. MOOCs offer massive benefits as rich learning resources to learn from different teaching styles of other educators and also to gain access to in-depth content. This also provides online forums to meet or for students to interact with each other and the teachers. Here, the flexibility can be enabled by allowing learners several ways of studying in groups, individually and collaboratively, as done online. Experiential learning. Experiential learning focuses more on activities and requires the students to apply the experiences to other contexts. It's more about the process of learning rather than focusing on the content. As a flexible learning strategy, experiential learning can be designed and delivered online using different technologies. Examples, you can use blended or flipped learning strategies in which the students can conduct the research and information gathering and accessing resources online, use online multimedia resources to create reports or presentations, and by collaborating online through group project work or through critique and evaluation of each other's work. The next example is fully online. Increasingly, teachers are finding that experiential learning can be applied fully online through a combination of synchronous tools such as web conferences, and asynchronous tools such as discussion forums and or social media for group work, and e-portfolios and multimedia for reporting. Okay, so these are the broad strategies of flexible learning. Now we'll look at specific examples of how they have been done. As you're all aware that the Chinese have been using this ever since the coronavirus hit their cities, hit their country. So I'm using the first example is how the Chinese teacher, this is just one example, they have used technology in many ways for flexible learning, but this is just one example how Chinese teachers have used. So the teachers, they deliver their live lectures through a software called Ding Talk, and these are scheduled talks, so the students have to log on and be present for these talks. Then after that, what they do is they organize group-based discussions by using the platform Zoom, so that all the participants can interact with each other more conveniently. They can also ask questions and get their doubts clarified. Then it's followed by video based one-on-one tutoring, so that the students can have a better emotional perception while they're addressing the course work with real-time help from the teachers. So this is like a real classroom which is happening virtually. Some other examples which are happening around the world is like working with the video annotation system to allow students to mark up a video of a class lecture. So if you have shared a class lecture, the students can be given sorry, this facility to mark up a video and identify parts which have worked and parts which did not. That means the ones that they understood and the ones where they did not understand. This provides feedback and interaction and opens up discussions which can be followed. Then also the use of rapid and frequent polling through a Twitter like platforms such as Nearpods, Mentimeter, Google Classroom to encourage from the majority of students to set up topics and direction of face-to-face sessions, receive feedback, ask questions, clarify doubts at any particular moment of time can also be used very effectively. Lecture captures. I think you're familiar. Lectures can be recorded and redistributed on the internet for later viewing, and this can be done for repeated viewing. Okay, so we have some more examples. Students can write assignments both in virtual and out of classroom that include reflections, notes on readings, writings to a prompt, and a term paper with several stages. Out of class work can include things like flexible days each term where students work out on their own and do not attend online classes, relying on several technologies. These include links from course management system to online readings, videos, and a librarian created tutorial. You can also have calibrated peer review through which students give and receive anonymous feedback on peer writing. Turnitin, an application to check plagiarism, can also be used to help students improve the ability to paraphrase and appropriately cite references. You can also organize virtual field trips for science lessons, social studies, etc. Online quizzes can be conducted to check understanding. Wiki presentations or final reports can be done. Online course notes, teachers can make online course notes and share. You can organize students to have reflections, book reviews, online group projects. Now, this from evidence from research which has been collected, it says that student surveys, written reflections, assignments show that these examples of flexible learning help students to meet the intended learning objectives, which include the skills of generating ideas, viewing, reading, writing, discussing, editing, providing feedback, and summarizing. So, in totality, it's the whole process of teaching and learning which happens. Okay, looked at some of the examples. Now we look at the challenges. Every teaching and learning, they have two sides to it. So the challenges that are associated with flexible learning is there are concerns over the availability of resources such as modules, learning materials, tests, among others, as well as the ability of equipment such as computers, smartphones, printers for both teachers and students. Then you can also have internet connection can be unreliable if there are thousands of learners learning simultaneously. Several teachers and learners may not have the appropriate digital skills to teach and learn online. This can make online learning and teaching rather frustrating. Student readiness and lack of crucial learning competencies such as adaptation, independent study, self regulation, and motivation, which are key factors for online learning, may be lacking in these students. Several teachers simply use direct instructions without considering important features of online learning, such as interactivity, social presence, and cognitive presence, resulting in unmotivating learning experiences for the students. Then you can also have overloading learners and the parents who are helping them by asking them to use too many applications or platforms. And at the same time, the parents' competence and time in providing support is also a concern, which comes out of flexible learning when you use too much of technology. Then you also have, like, some teachers may find it difficult to find online resources that are most suitable for their teaching, because thousands of resources are published online, and then it becomes very difficult to select the ones that you may want to use. Benefits and advantages. Several studies report positive outcomes of integrating flexible learning strategies in their context. Flexible strategy learning strategies help students achieve learning outcomes and become autonomous learners, so they become independent. Then flexible strategies also help provide rich and appropriate support for students. Flexibility is a great appeal as students can learn remotely on their own schedules and the teacher can teach from anywhere else. Okay, thank you for your patience and wish you all successful implementation of flexible learning strategies. And these are the references that I have used. So thank you.